Baseball fans, it's that time of the year again where experts tell you where they think the top free agents are going. Last year I put out a video and I got about half of them correct, and my average AAV was only $2 million off from the players received. So let's do it again. Same thing as last year, I'm going to tell you where the player is signing, how much, and I'm going to give you a little bit of rationale as well. People like to pretend like I don't know what I'm talking about, but let's change that. Top free agent this offseason, 100% Shohei Ohtani. He is truly a unicorn, and I don't think we'll ever see a player like him ever again. People like to compare him to Babe Ruth, but they are nothing alike. If he was two players, Shohei Ohtani would be the best DH in baseball and probably one of the best pitchers in baseball. This season, he hit .305 with a .412 on base percentage and a .654 slugging. He also led the American League with 44 home runs while driving in 95 RBIs. And yeah, he stole 20 bases. And as a pitcher, he had a .314 ERA in 23 starts with 165 Ks, only 55 walks, in 132 innings. Those two players alone would be getting easily $250 million contracts separately. On top of all that, he's one of the most marketable players in baseball, so you'll easily sell jerseys and tickets just by having him on your roster. And this past season, he had a 10 WAR, so yeah, he'll win you some games too. Where does Shohei Ohtani go? This is a player that all 30 teams need to be in on. In my mind, it comes down to the Mets and the Dodgers, two behemoths that love to spend money. However, I think only one owner is crazy enough to go all the way, and I think the Dodgers signed him for a 10-year, $480 million deal with incentives to get it up to $500 million. It's a huge blow that he tore his UCL this year and that he needed surgery. So bearing any setbacks and potential injuries down the recovery road, I think he'll get back to normal. I still think he'll be the dominant pitcher we're used to seeing, and I think he'll be worth every single penny of that contract. And the Dodgers are a win-now team. They have the pieces on their major league roster to win a World Series. They got prospects in the farm system to win a World Series down the line. This is a win-win for both sides. Number 2, we got Blake Snell. Since coming into the league, Snell's had a pretty interesting career. He's already won a Cy Young, about to win another one this year. He has 2 ERA titles, but in his 8-year career, he already has 3 years with his ERA above 4. And his career whip of a little over 1.2 is a little higher than most dominant pitchers. Lucky for Blake Snell, he dominated when he needed it the most, going 14-9 with a 2.25 ERA and 32 starts with 234 strikeouts. His curveball and slider are pretty much unhittable, and he ended the season with a 6 WAR. Pretty decent. And lucky for Blake Snell, he's entering a market where a lot of teams need pitchers, and the pitching market is pretty top heavy. And overall, this free agent class is nothing special. But I think he gets paid. I think the Cardinals give him $130 million contract over 5 years. He's 30 years old, so most likely his better years behind him. So that's a really nice contract for a pitcher in his situation. Number 3 is Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Yamamoto is one of the most highly anticipated players to get posted from Japan, and truthfully, very well deserved. This year, he went 16-6 in 23 starts with a 1.23 ERA. Look, that's his career stat, but he has the stuff to dominate in Major League Baseball. He's not expected to be a middle-of-the-rotation guy like scouts predicted for Kodai Senga last offseason. He is someone a team is signing this offseason to be their ace. He's a 25-year-old pitcher with a fastball that lives in the high 90s and a 5-pitch arsenal. And like Snell, he's entering a really nice market for him to get paid highly. And that's why I think the New York Yankees give him a $210 million contract over 7 years. The Yankees already have one of the best pitchers in baseball in Garrett Cole, but after him, no one really significant there. They gave Carlos Rodon a massive contract last offseason, but truthfully, that did not pan out. You don't know what you're getting from Nestor Cortez, and after that, a bunch of question marks. The Yankees can add a bat or two, and Yamamoto, I think they're a lock to win the AL. And should honestly be World Series favorites. That hurts me as a Mets fan. Number 4 is a bat that the Yankees have on their radar, Cody Bellinger. Similar to Blake Snell, he's had seasons where he looked like one of the best players in baseball, and then other seasons where he's looked like he doesn't even belong on a roster. But luckily for Cody Bellinger, he had a great 2023. He slashed .307, .356, .525 with 29 doubles and 26 home runs. He can play first base in all 3 outfield positions, and truthfully, I think he's the best bat in this free agent class other than obviously Shohei Ohtani. He looked really comfortable in Chicago. The team looked like they loved him, so I think the Chicago Cubs give him a 5-year, $110 million deal. At number 6, we have the best reliever in this free agent class, Josh Hader. After a shaky 2022, Josh Hader had a dominant 23. Hader had 33 saves, 85 strikeouts, and a 1.28 ERA. Opposing hitters had 190 off his 2-seam fastball and only 100 off his slider. He wants to be the highest paid reliever in baseball history in terms of AAV, and I think he gets that. I think he beats Edwin Diaz's record with a 3-year, $66 $56 million deals with the Phillies. Look, we saw it this past postseason. Craig Kimbrell blew it for the Fighting Phils. If they had a closer like Josh Hader, I think it's realistic they would have made the World Series once again, and honestly, probably could have won it. Speaking of the Phillies, at number 6, we have one of their former aces, Aaron Nola. Look, Aaron Nola had an inconsistent 2023. He went 12-9 with a 4.46 ERA and gave up 32 home runs. However, when the lights shined the brightest in the playoffs, he went 3-1 with a 2.35 ERA. What are you getting from Aaron Nola in the next couple years? Truthfully, I don't know. His pretty good career stats, finishing the top 7 in Cy Young voting 3 separate times. And given how top-heavy the starting pitching free agent class is, I think he gets paid like a middle-of-the-rotation pitcher. And you know who needs pitching more than anyone because of injuries? Atlanta Braves, and I think they give him a 5-year, $130 million contract. At number 7, we finally have our second position player with Matt Chapman. Matt Chapman's one of the best defensive third basemen in baseball, and he's coming off a season where he had a 4.4 WAR, which is, pretty decent. No, he only had 17 home runs this year and 54 RBIs, which is definitely not ideal. But given that this is not a strong free agent class, I think he gets a nice payday. I think the Dodgers sign him on a 6-year, $130 million contract. Look, if this was last season or pretty much any other year, no, he's not getting that deal. But I have him ranked as the second best position player, and I think teams see that as well. Number 8, we have Sonny Gray, another potential Cy Young candidate. This year, he went 8-8 with a 2.79 ERA in 32 starts, striking out 183 batters in 184 innings. This is the most amount of innings that Sonny Gray has thrown since 2015. Boy, was he dominant. Opposing batters hit .097 against his new pitch called the sweeper. And while I'm sure a lot of teams will be interested in him, I think he's found a home in Minnesota, and the Twins are going to sign him to a 4-year, $85 million deal. Number 9, we finally have another bat, and this one is the second best DH available other than obviously Shohei Ohtani. We have JD Martinez. At 36 years old, JD Martinez found the fountain of youth and had a great season with the Dodgers. As the Dodgers' primary DH, he had 33 home runs, 103 RBIs, and a 134 OPS plus. Yeah, that's pretty good. However, after signing Otani and Chapman, there's no way the Dodgers are going to be able to retain him, and that's why I think he goes to the Mets, a team that is in desperate need of a true power bat other than Pete Alonso. Look, we're used to the Mets making big splashes ever since Steve Cohen bought the team. He knows that's not sustainable. Fans should know that's not sustainable. So signing JD Martinez to a 2-year, $22 million deal, I think is a nice move for them. They got the young kids coming up. They have a nice core already locked up. I think Martinez could be a difference maker for them. We just need pitching. At number 10, we have one of the most underrated pitchers in baseball, Eduardo Rodriguez. After not waiving his no-trade clause at the trade deadline, he finally opted out of his contract with the Tigers this offseason, and he had a dominant year. This year, he went 13-9 with a 3.3 ERA and a 1.2 WHIP. Surprisingly, there hasn't been too much talk about him, but I did read that the Orioles are heavily interested in him, and Baltimore is where I think he ends up, signing a 5-year, $85 million deal. Number 11, we got Jordan Montgomery, the reigning World Series champ. Jordan Montgomery is not your ace, but he's a really nice middle-of-the-rotation pitcher. He's had an ERA under 4 each of the last 3 seasons, and this past season in 32 starts, he had a 3.2 ERA. Overall, had a really nice season with a 4.1 WAR. Look, is he the most enticing free agent? No. But with a weak free agent class, I think he gets a decent contract. And after trading their co-ace to the Rangers at the trade deadline, I think Jordan Montgomery signs with the Mets for a 5-year, $110 million deal. You know he can pitch in New York because he had 6 good years with the Yankees, and why not bring him home? Number 12, we have a former New York Met, Marcus Stroman. Truthfully, I don't know Marcus Stroman's market value. The first half of 2023, he looked like the Cy Young was already his, and then completely fell off the second half. Then again, he was pitching through a rib injury, which is very difficult for a pitcher. Look, Marcus Stroman is not your ace. The number 2, maybe 3 starter depending on your rotation, but he has great upside. My main concern with Marcus Stroman is his locker room presence. With his previous 2 teams, the Blue Jays and the Mets, there were some difficulties with him in the locker room. It seems like this Cubs team really loves him. That's why I think it makes the most sense that he's going to re-sign with the Cubs on a 3-year, $63 million deal. At number 13, we have an under-the-radar bat with Teoscar Hernández. At 31 years old, he's entering the back end of his career, and it's truthfully showing a little. This season, he was one of the league leaders with 211 strikeouts and only walked 38 times. He was a below-average defender this year with only 1 defensive run saved and 3 errors. However, he is a consistent power hitter. And for the last 5 years, he's hit at least 25 home runs, which a lot of teams could use. And given that there's not that many quality bats available this offseason, I think he's going to be pretty desirable. With Jorge Soler entering the free agent market, I think he ends up with the Miami Marlins signing a 5-year, $65 million deal. Speaking of Soler, at number 14, I do have Jorge Soler. Similar to Teoscar Hernández, he's 31 years old, and he's not going to be your right fielder, although he can play. He's prominently going to be a DH, and with 36 home runs and a 128 OPS plus, he's coming off one of his best seasons since 2019. However, he has been really inconsistent in his career. Despite being a power hitter, he's only hit 20 home runs or more 3 times in his 10-year career. Therefore, I don't think he gets that big of a contract, signing a 2-year, $32 million deal with the Padres. I don't know what to think of the Padres this offseason. A report came out last month that they needed to take a $50 million loan just to pay salaries. And there's some serious talk that they might need to trade one of their big contracts. Tatis, Machado, or Xander Bogaerts. If they do have to move one of those guys, I think they need to bring in a power bat. And I think Jorge Soler is one of those cost-efficient guys that they can bring in. Number 15, we have Rhys Hoskins. Hoskins was an integral part of that Phillies team that made the World Series last season. He hit 30 home runs and a 794 OPS. Look, historically, he's been a below-average defender, and he's recovering from a torn ACL, which is why I think he makes the move to DH. Consistently, he's been a 25 to 30 home run guy, so he is a nice bat to have in your lineup. Given that he didn't play in 2023, I think he's going to need to sign a prove-it deal somewhere. And I think the San Francisco Giants give him a 1-year, $15 million deal. The Giants didn't get their power bat last offseason, and it showed this season, which is why I think they need to get a guy like Hoskins. Similar to Soler, this is a low-risk, high-potential deal. Anyway, baseball fans, that is all I have for you today. Where do you think these guys are landing? Who do you think your team's signing this offseason? Comment down below. Let's go, Mets, baby. Woo!